Hey everyone, Dave Floss here from Mentally Unbalanced. For tonight's short vid clip, we're going to be talking about the Alien role-playing game from Free League. There's a lot to unbox here, so let's get to it. So fans of the Alien franchise really haven't had much in the way of role-playing games. There's been a few games. There was a Colonial Marines Aliens game that came out quite some time ago in the 90s. And of course, you might have incorporated the Xenomorph or other aspects of Alien into other role-playing systems. But now, finally, Free League has brought us a 100% dedicated role-playing game set in the Alien universe. There is a core book. Think of it as your game master guide and player guide all in one. It's a beautifully beautiful hardcover book, beautifully illustrated, almost 400 pages long, right? So I mean, this is just phenomenal. This is going to get into all of the meat and potatoes. But you might be thinking, whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot to start with. Is there something to kind of ease my way in? And of course, there is. We have the Alien starter set. So what this set includes, which differentiates it from the main book, we're going to go ahead and open it up. First of all, you have a far more condensed version of the rules. So we're not going to, these rules aren't going to really get into all of the different xenomorphs, all of the different weapons. It's really meant as an intro to the mechanics of the game and some of the aspects of the characters and the adversaries, but it's really more about the system than a lot of that extra stuff that you get in the full role-playing game book that really talks about everything from the xenomorph, engineers, other alien life forms, weapons, military, support personnel, synthetics, all really captured in the main book. Now, the one thing that the starter set does include, which even if you're gonna get the main book, it probably won't be a bad idea to get the starter set as well, is first, the starter set is going to include the base rules, which means think of it as just a nice little compendium that you can use with your players so that you're not always having to hand around the bid book. So there's really no loss by having the starter set and then investing in the full role-playing game. The other things included in the starter set that really help kind of set the scene, first of all, is their first cinematic adventure, Chariot of the Gods. We're going to talk about cinematic adventures in just a moment. You get this beautiful I'm not going to unfold the whole thing. It'll take up half the video, but beautiful fold-out maps of some of the starships that are included in the cinematic scenario, as well as a star map of the various worlds. Really, just a great centerpiece for the table. Good quality, I will say. As part of the cinematic starting set as well, you get some pre-generated characters that you can use. Let's talk about the cinematics for a moment. So your conventional role-playing games, right? And I played them all the way back. D&D, Rifts, Palladium, Roll20, GURPS, all these different games. Maybe the closest example I have here is D&D. When you have and you make your D&D characters, oftentimes your DM is going to run you through a particular quest, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but the idea is a lot of those quests are pre-written and clearly lay out kind of the point A to point B, and your characters are following through on this particular story. There are other games which are very open world free. The game master can invent their own scenarios, or it can be very open-ended. There's no real linear aspect to them. And what I really like about Alien is that it gives you the option of doing either one, 100%. So the cinematic adventures are really just a defined quest guide. It allows you to use pre-generated characters. Generally, you can jump right into the action. The characters are there, the story is there, the setup is there, all the game master material needed is there, and you can really jump right in and just start playing. And other than grasping some of the initial base mechanics of actions and dice rolling, it's a great way to just get somebody in there and start playing. But then with the expanded book, the full role-playing book, it allows you to go in and go much further. Now you can generate your own characters. You can the game master has a lot more freedom as far as where they go, and really allows you this expanded Alien universe and franchise, not limited just to the Xenomorph. So we have some of those pre-generated characters. We have some punch-outs or some tokens that you can use with your map. Haven't even punched these yet. You have a set of agenda, basically of cards. And again, there's initiative cards that allow you to determine initiative order. They're also a great way for tracking the way actions are spent. And then there's a number of other cards either for weapons. So think of it, it's almost a balance of RPG and tabletop. So there are definitely some tabletop aspects. You have this beautiful map laid out in front of you. You have these ships that you're exploring. You have these cards, which are equipment or other expendables that you might have. So you have a little bit of your your tableau in front of you that has your character and all these other things. So it's kind of that hybrid between, immersive role-playing and immersive board gaming. And then lastly, you have the dice. Let's take a closer look at the dice that are included. There's two types. The first one is your action die. Really, it's just a standard six-sided die, but you can see on the sixth side, there's a particular marker called a success marker. And then there's this other die called a stress die. And you'll notice that it also has a success on the sixth side, but unlike the standard die, on the one side, it has a little image of a facehugger. And where this comes into play within the game is that a number of your actions, whether it's an attack, trying to complete a skill, are going to be based on a certain number, rolling a certain number of action dice, and then tallying the total number of successes versus the difficulty of that particular task or action. Now, as the game progresses, characters start suffering stress. And there's a number of reasons why stress can come up within the game. Perhaps you experience something stressful. If your character has for example, if your character is an addict, which can happen, right? And you're not able to get what you need to fulfill certain requirements, it adds stress. And what that means is when you roll an action, you're going to roll the appropriate number of action dice plus any and all additional stress dice that you have included, up to a certain total amount. Now, the reason that's an issue is that when you roll those dice, while you might get a success on that stress die, if you get the facehugger, not only does it impact and increase your stress, but there can be other pretty detrimental effects, including failing whatever action you were trying to accomplish in the first place. This has the effect on the game that as your characters are going throughout their quest, if they are not properly managing their stress, dice rolls are going to become not only potentially more critical, but have much more severe effects as a result. So while you can absolutely use regular six-sided die, one of the nice things about getting the starter kit is that it includes a complete set of the stress dice and of the regular dice for you to use. And I really think it adds a little bit more to the game. You could have two different colored sets of dice, but just seeing that facehugger symbol pop up or being able to see those successes when you roll them and complete a really critical action, I think really adds to the game. So these are a nice addition, but not necessarily required in order to play the game. Now, the last part of the starter set, as I talked about, it also includes the star map and the Chariot of the Gods cinematic scenario, which is a great way to get started into the game. It's not really going to get you deep into the Xenomorphs or some of the broader alien mythos, but it is, again, a great way to start. But where do you go from there? Well, that's with the new expansion, and that is Destroyer of Worlds. This is the first full expansion for the Alien role-playing game. And similar to the starter set, it comes with... We're going to unbox it for you right here and now. Again, this one has a beautiful full-page double-sided map. It includes both a survey map, an area map of the location where the quest takes place, and then a breakdown of other areas that your group will be exploring. So this is really great because, again, it adds that nice visual effect where people can see kind of what's going on. It includes some additional cards to use with the base game, including some agenda cards, additional equipment cards, and these story cards, which are a new addition, which are similar to agendas, but basically add more flavor to the individual characters. Think of them as your individual character's story progression within the broader campaign. So that's a nice little addition. It includes, again, a number of pre-generated characters, as this is a cinematic expansion, so it's meant to be played linearly. So you have a number of pre-generated characters. There's a few other smaller fold-out maps that are some of the key locations that your characters will be exploring. Again, great amount of supplemental material as opposed to just a quest book. It really includes, for the price, it really includes a great deal of additional supplemental materials, both for the game master and for the players, which is a nice addition. And then, of course, it includes the Destroyer of Worlds quest book itself. And here's where it's going to be kind of hard to demonstrate this, but you can see this beautiful quest book that's included here. The quest book alone is about 90 pages long, right? And to put that in perspective, your starter kit, which includes your core rule book and your first base scenario, is about 100 pages long. So you're really getting, I mean, if you think about this, the main book is going to be walking through, character creation and lore and many other things before you even get into, kind of the meat of the material. Whereas the quest book, 90 pages, is all material. I have not run Destroyer of Worlds. I've run Chariot of the Gods. That session I played it twice. The first session took about 6 hours, and we played straight through. It was intense. I'm hearing online that more game masters are splitting that usually into 2 or possibly 3 sessions of 2 to 3 hours each, allowing a little bit more time. Destroyer of Worlds, I've heard, can go up to 25 hours of actual gameplay. Now that's going to vary based on your group or based on the number of players or even just the general style and approach that the game master. But each of the cinematic events is broken up basically into chapters. So you don't really have to find a good breakpoint. It's already been outlined for you where a good stopping point might be before you go into the next section, which again could be several hours of actual game time. So it kind of lets you break it into different sections and different scenarios. A lot of these full color maps that are included, these fold out maps, are also included with additional reference material inside the book itself that really helps describe, I mean, the detail that's gone into this is really pretty incredible. Almost every single location, room, environment is laid out and described within the campaign book, which is fantastic for a game master. Just really gives them a lot of material to work with. But other aspects of the environment really still allow, even in the cinematic adventures, still allow the game master to have some fun, really enjoy. When I ran Chariot of the Gods, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's clearly it's very similar, I should say, to Alien, right? And I don't want to give any more away. I'm sure if you're a fan of this game, you've probably seen the movie Alien, but it's kind of that truckers in space type of approach, right? Not really prepared. Something happens. Oh my goodness. And I really had a lot of fun being very descriptive. The book and the campaign provide a lot of descriptions, but as a game master, to be able to embellish, and having seen all the movies and having read comic books, I have this plethora of different ideas in my head. So I have a lot of fun really describing events as they unfold and really get the characters drawn into it. The last thing I think I'll show you here, which is also available, probably from the website. I haven't seen this out in the wild, but is this really nice Game Master screen here. And if I just hold that up there for a second, not too much going on, not terribly distracting for the players. Obviously has a great shot of the Xenomorph there. And we should probably talk about the artwork. All of the artwork within the game, it's not recycled artwork from the movies or from the comics. It's all brand new, and it is really pretty spectacular. I mean, just absolutely high quality, beautiful images, not just of the aliens or of the creatures, but really across the board. Even the spacescapes, the ships, and the environments are just really beautifully rendered. The Game Master screen also includes, as you would expect, any Game Master screen, includes a number of helpful stats and roles and other things that the Game Master might need to refer to. So this is a nice addition. For anybody who pre-ordered the game when it first came out, or there were still some packages where you could get the Game Master screen, the dice, and the full hardcover role-playing game all together. So you might want to check that out if you want to just be able to get everything all at once. From the game's overall perspective, I will the last point that I'll make, which is not specific to the materials that are provided, but other great ways that I have implemented and other players I've seen implement within their games are things like a Mother interface. For those familiar with the Alien movie, Mother being the main computer, there's some awesome, very creative people online that have created actual working Mother interfaces where you can type in commands and it leverages the visual style and sound effects. That was a blast. I incorporated something like that when I ran Chariot of the Gods with one of my groups. And what I had done is that at certain points when normally the Game Master would just explain what's going on, I compressed it down into kind of that Mother speak on the computer. So they would type in, what's the story, Mother? And it would actually give them just the intro or starting part of what the next part of that adventure was going to be, or other items as they went along, pieces of information where they would reference Mother as opposed to referencing the Game Master directly, and I just speak it out loud. So that was a lot of fun. The other thing that I put in there, and this is available, you can get this for your iPhone. I've seen apps already online. So if you Google it, you'll probably find one pretty fast and easy, is the motion tracker. So this was another thing where within the environment of the game, whether it's aliens or other unknown entities, could be other NPCs, could be synthetics. Most of these environments are pretty isolated, right? Even if it's a large building, there's various rooms and different places where the characters are. So I incorporated a sound effect just on my phone that I could tap, and it would create that nostalgic sound from the Aliens movie of the motion trackers, right? And as if I wanted to kind of amp up the pressure, especially if the characters, the players were having an in-game, out-of-game argument, what to do next, I would just start tapping that sound effect, and all of a sudden all eyes would stop and focus. And if I really wanted to get their attention, you could, the one that I have for my phone allowed me to change it from just like a single occasional ping to holy crap, there's stuff all around us. And all of a sudden, everybody in the game is freaking out and figuring out. And I used it well because sometimes it absolutely meant there was some impending danger or something was definitely coming at them. Another time, they were just ghost signals. They were there was something, but it never actually confronts them. That created a different kind of sense of anxiety for the players because they never knew, is this the real moment that something's going to happen, or is this, just a phantom, and we're going to be okay? And ultimately, that's what I felt is at the core of the Alien role-playing game. And that is, this is not just your standard adventure game. This is not Dungeons and Dragons. This is not straight up science fiction. If you know the Alien franchise, you know that most of the time it has to do with people under incredible situations, incredible amount of stress, having to figure out and survive. And that's what this game, I think, is at its core. It is a game of survival. It is not uncommon for multiple characters to not survive to the end of the game, for there to be unbelievable twists and turns, both driven by the Game Master and driven by either the cinematic scenario or even the players themselves. So while this is not a paid endorsement for this game, it is definitely a huge endorsement from me, having played the game and waited really most of my life for a role-playing game that captured the spirit and the fear and the anxiety of the Alien franchise. So, do I recommend it? Absolutely. Do you need to go right to the big book? Absolutely not. The last comment I'll make is that the one real nice thing that Free League does is that when you order their books, whether it's the main books or the expansion books, they make a copy almost immediately available to you in PDF. So even while you're waiting to get your book, you can get a PDF digital copy that you can download. It's great for being able to read it or put it on your tablet during a game and be able to reference things. Maybe if you're worried about space or just don't want to have all the books out, whatever the case may be, which means you can jump right into learning the game and playing the game even before the rest of the materials arrive. And that really helped me. I did a pre-order. I had to wait 3 months before my game showed up. But I really, as soon as the book showed up that night, we were ready to go because I had the PDF copy, I'd reviewed the material, and I'd prepped my game in advance of getting the maps and the cards and the dice, which I really wanted to complete the overall experience. So I absolutely recommend it, and think that even if you're not a fan of the Alien franchise or a big fan of the Alien franchise, it's a solid game. It's the same system, or similar to the system that Free League uses amongst their other role-playing games across a variety of different genres, which means that it's tested and works well, fits very well within the Alien universe. So you don't have to be a huge fan to enjoy the game at just the mechanics and the overall style and anxiety-driven aspect of the game. But if you are an Alien fan, absolutely, this is an awesome game. This would be a huge addition to your role-playing collection, and I think something your players would really enjoy. If you like this video, go ahead and click subscribe right down below. You can get more of our videos, including our upcoming and future Mentally Unbalanced podcasts. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.